A young orphan boy named Shinya Kazuya goes to a supermarket to buy food. On his way, he holds his phone, telling himself that he at least has to find something to eat, especially since there is no one in his house to prepare anything for him. He presses his phone and walks but suddenly sees people running out of a store. A young girl hits him while running, and his phone falls down. Another girl runs after her, and they both fall over each other. He's also on the ground, although in front of them all, he sees a man holding a knife and coming out of the store. The man targets the two young girls and tells them he will kill them. Kazuya stands up to run and tells the girls that they should run too, but he realizes there's no way the young girls can outrun the man. He decides it's time for him to step up and be a man, so he should protect the girls. The man starts running towards the girls with his knife pointed in his hand. Kazuya jumps at the man to stop him. He falls on him and tells the girls to use the distraction he has created to run away to safety, but he sees that they are just looking at him. He wonders what had just happened until he sees blood dropping on the floor. The man stands up and realizes he has killed Kazuya. The man runs away to not get caught, and Kazuya falls down with a knife still inside his stomach. Despite knowing that he will die, he looks at the girls and he is glad that he was able to protect them. The girls come nearer to him, and they hold him, hoping he won't die. Instead of being bothered about his death, he's concerned that he has made the girls sad, and he's angry at himself for making them cry. Reality dawns on him, and he knows it's game over for him, and he wonders if he's going to die. He dies and wakes up in a big room. He's shocked to wake up again and assumes that he is at the hospital because someone has saved him from dying. He wonders who has lodged him in a private hospital that big and says he knows he saved some girls, but it's not so important that they have to pay for his treatment in a luxurious hospital. He raises his head up to see a maid. She is dressed in a manner that isn't common in the Japanese world that he's used to, but he calls her attention regardless. The maid, Sylvia, runs to him, calling him her young master, and she screams to call his mother that he has woken up. His mother also arrives, and his mother calls him Cain, and he wonders what is wrong with them. His name isn't Cain, and he doesn't know who the women are. He tries to speak to them, but the excitement of his mother doesn't allow her to give him an opportunity to talk. While trying to defend himself from the way they are holding him, he stands up and he sees himself in the window. Voila! To his shock, he's a small boy, I mean a baby. He screams, hitting his head, and asking them what has happened to him. His mother explains that he has been asleep for more than a week, and it's possible he's still feeling feverish, so he has to rest a lot, and he will understand what's happening later. His mother commands Sylvia to bring him the food they have prepared, and she also leaves him in the room so he can get the rest he deserves. After they leave, he thinks of the entire scenario. He knows he tried to save some girls, and he got stabbed in the process, and he most likely died. He wonders if the life he's living at that moment is called reincarnation, as he had read about in novels. As a fantasy novel lover, the most important theme of novels he has read is reincarnation, and he's glad it's happening to him in real life. He says he knows the first step in reincarnation is for him to know his environment, because if he doesn't know his environment well, he may destroy his life and spoil his purpose. He looks under the bed and every other part of the house, and he tries to check under his trousers. Sylvia comes in and sees him checking his trousers. She assumes that he may have urinated in the bed, and she comes to change his clothes. She also feeds him some food. He actually enjoys the food, although he doesn't know what it's made of. After eating, Sylvia carries him in her hands and starts tapping him on the back, saying she wants him to burp first, and he can go to bed later. He screams to tell her he isn't a baby, and he doesn't need to burp, but he remembers he could actually be a baby, so he asks her for his age. She refuses to answer and keeps tapping him. Eventually, she leaves his room. He's glad that he didn't sleep before she left, and he says that despite how difficult it was to crack Sylvia, he was still able to get some information about his new life from Sylvia. He finds out that his name is Cain von Silford, his father, Charm, is a noble, and his mother is Sarah. He has an elder sister, Rain, who is 2 years older than him, and he is 3 years old, so Rain is 5 years old. His mother, Sarah, is Charm's second wife, so Charm has a first wife named Maria. The union between Maria and Charm is blessed with 2 sons, Dejin and Alec, which implies that he is the third son of the family, and he has no right to inherit any estate. His father is a rich noble who has a margrave to himself, and he has several armies. The gate which Charm secures with his army is the south of Gracia, and they are in the kingdom of Esfart. Behind the gate are monsters and beasts of very high strength. As he hears about the monsters, his expression lightens up. Sylvia assumes he's scared, if that is why he has that expression, so she tells him that he doesn't have to be afraid as there are soldiers and adventurers who fight against the monsters to ensure they are safe. She explains to him that these soldiers and adventurers use both physical strength and magic to fight. When he hears about magic, his interest grows. He's a light novel lover, and he has read so much about the world of magic. He tells Sylvia that he wants to practice magic, but she tells him he's too young for that, and he has to grow older first. For him to learn magic, he has to know his first book, so he starts reading and writing. Hearing about magic has made him wish to remain in that world, especially since he had just lost his only grandpa and uncle in his former world, and there's nothing for him to miss there, so he can just explore this new world. After several days of learning how to read and write, he starts reading and writing perfectly, and he even solves mathematical problems. During dinner, his sister tells Jarm that he can now read and write and also solve math problems. Jarm is impressed, and Sarah says their son might be a genius. Charm is shocked about Kane's new attitude and says he wasn't like that before he got sick. Sarah also affirms that after he recovered from his sickness, something changed in him. Kazuya explains to Jarm that he just wants to grasp that world, and Jarm thinks that it's a great idea since he doesn't have rights to inheritance. Before he tells Jarm that he wants to learn magic and he needs magical books, Jarm offers to give him the books he needs. But Rain reminds them that he can't use magic until he gets baptized like her, and he can only get baptized at the age of 5. So for now, he can only learn with books. After learning for a while, Kazuya secretly figures out how to use magic. He starts with the fire element and calls fire in his hand. When Sylvia hears the sound and enters inside, he quenches the fire and hides it. He keeps using the fire element for a while and even calls fire that almost sets the house ablaze. Sylvia comes to attend to him and quenches the fire. After Sylvia leaves, Rain enters. She accuses him of sneaking out of the house to check the environment, so she will teach him all he needs to know until he grows up and can go outside. She tells him their kingdom was created by Yuya, the first king, who was an adventurer before he created the city. Their city also has other species of humanity like elves, dwarves, and beast folks. He gets so excited to see the world that he can't wait for himself to grow up. Eventually, 2 years pass, and he's 5 years old. He can now take the baptism, and his parents wait for him as Sylvia brings him from his room. Immediately they see him, they get emotional. Rain tells him he has grown big, but he shouldn't grow bigger than her. After they finish their hug, Jarm tells them they have to leave immediately as they have to get him baptized and also celebrate his debut. They leave home and take the carriage around the city. Kazuya is amazed to see the world he has wished for in his past life, the old houses, magic, monsters, and adventurers. He feels like he's living in his dream. He asks Rain if she knows what his status magic is, and she tells him it shows how much magic a person has. He tells her he wants to see her own, and she opens her status magic. He sees that she has a skill called Adorer of Cain, and she also uses 3 elements. He tells her she is so good for her to use 3 elements, and his parents explain that Rain got the protection of the god of magic, which is why she could use those skills. They explain that protection from God influences a person's magical powers, and they hope he will get enough protection too. Eventually, they arrive at the temple, and they explain to him that in that place, they serve the gods Marine Ford who have 7 statues representing each of them. The priest presents Kazuya to the gods and says he is now 5, and they should bless him. Suddenly, the statues emit white lights, and Kazuya goes into a trance. He meets the gods, and the god of creation, Zenom, welcomes him with his real name, Kazuya. They tell him they have been waiting for him, and he asks the god of death and recycles of birth, Rime, to explain the situation behind his death to him. Rime tells him he wasn't destined to die that day, but he died protecting the 2 girls. She says that even if he hadn't protected them, the man would have tripped and fallen, and then the people around would have held him. He feels his death was unnecessary, and she also tells him he even made them sentence that man to death. However, since he did a good deed, the god of earth, Bella, asks that he should be reincarnated. Zenom starts by giving him his protection, then Rime, the god of magic, gives him her protection. Zarnos, the god of war, follows through, and Grim, the god of technology, also blesses him. Pan Am, the god of commerce, gives him protection, and Rime adds her own. Bella, the god of earth, concludes by giving him her protection and telling him her protection is unique before he returns to Earth. Zenom gives him a very stylish smile and says he will meet him again when he returns. The others wonder what that light means, and the priest says he has never seen that light on anyone before. They ask for his status, but he says he has to check it first, so he runs away pretending he has an upset stomach so he can check it. He sees that he has protection from all of the gods and even has 10 of each, which is more than anyone has ever gotten, as the highest level has always been 5. He knows if he takes the status out, he will become a target. Zenom appears to him and tells him he has a skill called status conceal, so he can conceal some of it. He joins his family at the dining table, and when they ask about his status, he shows them after concealing some, even though he has concealed a lot. Jarm still feels his protection is too much, and he shouldn't show anyone so he won't become a threat to people. He returns to his room and sees a summoning book. He decides to summon a fluffy animal but mistakenly summons a monster who attacks Rain and another young girl. He doesn't want the girls to die, so he goes to fight the monster. He remembers what happened the last time he was protecting people, and he fortunately sends the monster back but collapses. He wonders if he will die again, but he wakes up. Rain tries to call their father, but he stops her. He decides he has to take a profession where he can protect people at the episodes, and Jarm introduces him to the workers in the house and asks him what he wants to do since he can't inherit any estate. He tells Jarm he wants to